The security of the armed forces and members of the security forces. We know Nigeria is challenged, especially with the riots ongoing, but we're happy that people have seen reason that members of the armed forces and security agencies are working in synergy for the good of Nigeria. None of us is interested in anybody being killed, anybody being injured, anybody being prosecuted, except those that have crossed the line. And so this is an opportunity to show this, that we're working as a team in line with the mandate of Mr. President. So this morning we're here to give you some brief on the issues on the ground, what we're doing, and then to have interaction with members of the media to clarify certain issues. I'm going to start with, by my left, the Comptroller General of Immigration. Each will have some few minutes to say a few comments, and then before we round up. Thank you.
And our sea borders as well are well manned and protected. And we do this also in collaboration with the military as well, because like I said, like the CDS said, everyone is well working together and all hands are on deck. Thank you.
With spate of violent protest in some states in the country, after the address of Mr. President on Sunday, tension doused. Peaceful protesters heeded the call of Mr. President to embrace dialogue. But we still have in few states, in Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and Bauchi State, group of people who started subversive campaign, waving flags of other countries and openly calling for military takeover of government. This is not a protest, but an offense of treason. The Nigerian police has arrested a number of them, and they will be dealt with accordingly. They will be given appropriate charges. I want to use this opportunity to warn our youths to desist from accepting foreign flags from agents of destabilization. It is very, very implicating for them to be seen with flags of other countries while on protest. So far, the situation is under control, and we believe that after this press conference, those misguided elements and their sponsors will desist from these acts of treason. Thank you.
I must say that we are working very closely with all security agencies, especially the police. We are working very closely, and we have deployed sizable number of our staff, all over the Federation. We have also made some arrests of especially those who are trying to attack or who have attacked critical national assets of government and infrastructure. And we have seen that really there's no, if you trace the history of protests in the country, you will have seen that there's no protest that has been done successfully, without some form of violence or the other. And this one is really not a protest. From what we have seen, there are reports and there are agitations of a regime change, and that is treasonable in nature. And so let me say that we are going to work very closely together to sustain and even go on above the present situation of the form of operation that the security agencies are doing. From the core, we are ready. We are championing the cause of peace, trying to educate Nigerians that there's no need for this protest, and that if you want to do protests, you do protests without violence. And so we are ready and we are poised to work with all agencies to make sure that this protest or this situation is nipped in the bud. With this, I want to thank the CDS for giving me the opportunity to really say something. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
For us to have this briefing, a joint briefing. I'd like to also inform gentlemen of the press that this kind of joint action has been going on under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, even before the outbreak of the national protest. The ongoing protests have been premised on a number of themes, and one of them is End Hunger. So part of the protest has addressed the issue of food inflation in our markets, food security in the long run. And I'd like to let Nigerians know that there has been a lot that is going on to address these issues that are related to ameliorate this situation through a mixture of fiscal policies of government and a number of strategic interventions from ministries, departments, and agencies of government. One of the things that I recall is the intervention through the distribution of strategic food items, which was released from the National Grain Reserves about a month ago. This was released to all states of the Federation. We also recall that a number of the food items that are consumed in Nigeria are imported. A better part of the components are imported, and importation are not done off the shelf. They take some time before they are done. So one of the things that the president has done is to reduce to cushion the effect of the cost inflation by suspending customs duties and taxes on imported food items for a period of time. We believe that when this is implemented, it will help to bring down the prices of food items in the market. Now, Nigeria Customs is committed to the implementation of this particular fiscal policies as enunciated by government. But I also like to remind Nigerians that we need to be very, very careful in the implementation of this, and this is why the guidelines for implementation is being meticulously worked out at the Ministry of Finance. What does this kind of intervention, what does it imply for the local markets? Because we're trying to address the interest of all the stakeholders. Most of these food items that is going to enjoy these duty waivers and concessions are also being cultivated by Nigerian farmers. And so there is the interest to strike, there is the issue of striking a balance between the interests, the long-term interests of Nigerian farmers, Nigerian stakeholders who are involved in the productions of these items, and the short-term interest of addressing food inflation. So the guidelines are being worked out at the Ministry of Finance, and I can assure you that within the next 1 week, these guidelines will be ready, and Nigeria Customs would begin implementation of these particular fiscal policies. So I therefore urge Nigerians to be a little bit patient, believing that some of these items that have already arrived at our shores would be cleared without imposition of customs duty and taxes. Once again, I want to express sincere gratitude for the opportunity to be part of this in the interest of national peace and security. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The representative of the
Chiefs, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed fellow patriotic Nigerians. Nigeria definitely is not in their strength, and even if it were, it is our collective responsibility to ensure that all hands are on deck and we move our nation forward. For the DSS, we have continued to gather appropriate intelligence and escalate them as appropriate, disseminate timely, actionable intelligence to action agencies and appropriate stakeholders on the basis of need to know and necessity for national security. On the 25th of July, particularly, the service issued a very clear, direct press statement saying that, yes, protest is a democratic right of citizens, but this particular one is one that is going to be mismanaged by the organizers, sponsors, and participants. And we said we identified the funding lines, we identified the sponsors and critical role players in the protest. But were we going to start with arrest of persons and being combative? We said no. We applied moral suasion and multi-track diplomatic shuttle initiatives to appeal to the good conscience of such persons to say, down your tools, the government is already on top of the situation, doing so much, give the government an opportunity to also do what is needful. And 2 days ago, the president has come out to say, yes, I have heard your complaints. Come forward and dialogue as appropriate. We want to join Goodwill Nigerians, persons of patriotic disposition, to say you cannot destroy your nation and still want to have it. You cannot, by any stroke of any imagination, be in the forefront of destroying your nation. The places that we desire to go to live in, they are who they are because they obey laws, because they love their nations. People protest, but protest can also be of significant good if people adhere to the rules of engagement. In situations where protesters destroy public infrastructure, PIFA, loot, and undermine public peace, that definitely will not be tolerated. And there is no responsible government or security organization in any nation across the world that will fold their hands and allow the peace of their nation brought down by people who are either have decided to be subversive or illegitimately disposed to insecurity and disorder. We appeal to our youths, to our mothers, to our fathers, to generality of Nigerians, to please give peace a chance and allow the government do what is needful. As committed as it has become, the federal government and all the subnationals will do what is very strategic for the nation. For us again, we have continued to map our strategies to ensure, whether at this level or at any other level, to ensure that any person who is involved in outright display of anarchy and chaos in the nation must be brought to book. In London or in the UK, the Prime Minister said day before yesterday that those who are engaged in the protest, violent protest in that part of the country would face consequences. And definitely people must face consequences. But that is not where we are now. Where we are is to appeal to people to be rational, to give peace a chance indeed. But for us, we will continue to do what is needful in line with our obligations. We will procure adequate intelligence, disseminate the same to appropriate authorities, and act as we should in line with international protocols and the constitution of the nation as may be relevant. Please, gentlemen of the press, we will also appeal to you to be careful, to be cautious about the narratives. Storytelling is what drives conflict of this nature. when we tell our stories and skew information to the detriment of public order, the end result is that people act on your stories. We want a situation where, when this has ended, you will be proud that you were not part of those who contributed to the inflammation of conflict or violence in the nation. Across the world, we have seen the tendencies or the contributions of media in violence. As men of pen, please apply good conscience and please tell stories that unite. Tell stories that raise hope and not stories that divide or create fear. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And heads of security agencies, members of the media, good morning, and thank you for this privilege, sir. Well, first, I want to assure all Nigerians that we are aware of some of the challenges and the hardships that the country is going through, and Nigerians, the ordinary Nigerians are going through right now. And we are also fully aware of every Nigerian's constitutional right to participate in peaceful protest. However, looking back at what has happened in the past few days, it is very clear to every peace-loving and patriotic Nigerian that these protests are no longer what they were purported to be. Instead, it's very clear to all that the protests have been hijacked by criminal elements and other groups that do not mean well for the country. I want to remind all Nigerians that while it is a constitutional right to participate in peaceful protest, it is also an offense and a crime to engage in disorder, violence, and chaos. And it is also the responsibility of the armed forces and other security agencies to ensure that violence, disorder, and chaos do not prevail, and will ensure that this does not happen. So I appeal to all well-meaning and peace-loving Nigerians to give peace a chance, to go back and give dialogue a chance and let the problems be resolved peacefully. Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief has addressed the nation. He has assured all that all the grievances and challenges and the complaints are being addressed, and I can assure Nigerians that a lot is being done by the government to address these complaints and these grievances. So let us give peace a chance. Let us go back and allow dialogue to take place and let the problems be resolved gradually. We coming out, or Nigerians coming out to participate in violence, destruction, and looting cannot solve the problem. Will never solve the problem. It's going to only aggravate it and make it worse. So let us go back, desist from this protest, desist from perpetrating violence and disorder and chaos. Let us go back and give this a chance and allow the federal government to implement the policies that will eventually address all these grievances and complaints. The armed forces and other security agencies will not sit back and allow hoodlums and criminals to take the law into their hands and oppress other peace-loving and law-abiding Nigerians. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Other security agencies that are here, members of the media, distinguished senior officers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon. First, let me thank the CDS for providing this forum to enable us speak to Nigerians and also speak to our officers and men regarding the prevailing issues of protests in Nigeria as it is today. I want to first of all start by recognizing the fact that Nigerians as citizens have a constitutional right to peaceful protest, and the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also equally recognizes this right and has given ample opportunity for people to air their grievances peacefully. This process, which started in that light, of course, we can all see today that it has taken another dimension. We share in the hopes and aspirations of Nigerians for better governance, which the President has also enunciated in the recent speech he made. The speech clearly brought out the intention of the President and the President administration towards addressing the issues of poverty and hardship that are facing Nigerians. On our part, the Armed Forces of Nigeria, we've been doing all that we need to do to ensure that we provide the enabling environment to support Mr. President and this government in the attainment of this objective of reducing poverty and hardship in this country. Particularly the Nigerian Navy, we have been working assiduously towards addressing the issue of insecurity in a maritime environment, and this has so far been paying yielding positive results, leading to the increase in our oil production, which is the mainstay of our economy. We also understand the enormous pains faced by Nigerians, because we are also Nigerians. But we understand that this cannot be addressed through violence, and that the only way to do is for all hands to be on deck positively towards changing this narrative. But I want to use this forum to remind each and every one of us that the Armed Forces of Nigeria is constitutionally charged with the responsibility of defense of the nation from both internal and external aggression and protection of the sovereignty of this country. And this is for the overall good of the entire citizens of this country. In addition to that, the Armed Forces Act has given us several other responsibilities which enable us to provide aid to civil authority. Key among these responsibilities is the protection of democracy and the protection of the freedom of Nigerians and their freedom to be able to select who should lead them. And that's why I say that the armed forces is the power behind ensuring that democracy thrives in Nigeria, and we are committed to do that because that is our mandate and it's something we've been trained to do, and we have to just do it. As we have seen that the protest has taken a new dimension to the extent that it has become something that appears to be subversive in nature. Because when you are protesting for bad governance or you are protesting for poverty, and then we see people deliberately calling for change of government, unconstitutional change of government, people asking for foreign intervention in our country, it shows that the intention of some of these protesters are not exactly what Nigerians were made to believe. It is obvious to us that many of these protesters are sponsored by elements, subversive elements, who are bent on distorting the peace that we have enjoyed in the last 25 years of democratic governance. It is also obvious to us that these people who want to perpetrate this ideology have other intentions other than the intention which they have made the gullible Nigerians to believe. And for that reason, as part of our constitutional responsibility, which is protection of the sovereignty of this country and provision of aid to civil authority, we are ready and we stand firm and resolute to provide the needed assistance to the Nigerian police in order to ensure that law and order is restored in all parts of this country where these violent protests have started. We will not renege in our responsibility, and we are ready to do it with the last drop of our blood. That I can assure you. The Nigerian Navy particularly will not sit back to watch these subversive elements take over our Commonwealth. We will do all that is required within the ambit of the law to show them that they have no place in our society, because we believe that we are protecting the majority of Nigerians, over 99.9% of Nigerians who believe in peace, who believe in the future of this country. These bad elements constitute less than insignificant part of our population, but unfortunately, they have the reach, they have the resources, and they are also backed by bad elements who want to see us go the way of Somalia and other countries. We, the armed forces of Nigeria, and particularly the Nigerian Navy, say no to that, and we are ready to fight it to the end. On this note, I want to inform this audience that we have rejigged our operations and we have instituted other means to be able to track these subversive elements and bring them to book. We are therefore appealing on well-meaning Nigerians to join us in this vanguard for peace, to join us in reaching out to these hoodlums and let them know that the federal government of Nigeria is their friend, while those who are pushing them to go into subversion are the real enemies of the state and by implication, the real enemies of all Nigerians. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much.
Fellow service chief, heads of other security agencies, gentlemen media practitioner, long before 1st of August this year, troops of the Nigerian Army have been deployed in the public space, maintaining law and order in line with our constitutional provision as enshrined in Section 217 of the 1999 Constitution. The reason for this deployment of troops is the fact that we were challenged, and we are still challenged security-wise, as a nation. Come 1st of August this year, and for the past 5 days, there has been a different dimension to the security challenge in our country. We have witnessed wanton destruction of properties, loss of lives, and even stretching the insecurity in our nation to the point of treason and subversion. The troops of the Nigerian Army have addressed this situation on case-by-case basis in conjunction with other security agencies. I want to, on behalf of the officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army, state unequivocally that the Nigerian Army stand assured in defense of our democracy, of our peace, of our harmony, and we are not going to shift ground on that. Our return to democracy in 1999 as a nation cost us blood and treasure. So my appeal to youths is that what we have witnessed in the past 5 days is an investment, needless investment of blood, of treasure, calling for an unconstitutional change of government. The Nigerian Army will not sit by and watch the nation slide into anarchy. Accordingly, the troops of the Nigerian Army will continue to work in conjunction with other security agencies in the population space to maintain law and order. I want to appreciate the press for reports that we have received on the performance of our troops so far since the outbreak of this nationwide protest that's turned into riots. We have taken into account your reports. We have used them to streamline the performance of our troops and we will even inculcate them into our doctrine. I want to thank the youths. I want to thank the generality of Nigerians. I want to thank the media that since the break of day today, since 0600 hours, the reports from across the nation is that we have returned back to a palpable state of peace and security. And I believe going forward, we will continue along that trajectory. So I seek for the understanding of the media, the youths, the generality of Nigerians to continue to support our troops as they work with like-minded Nigerians to ensure that peace, law, and order reign in our country. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I don't think in the history of Nigeria we had a situation where all the heads of security forces are here on ground to discuss and be able to talk to the press for Nigerians. It shows the respect we have for our dear country. It shows the love for God and country. It shows that we're committed in our task and that we love Nigeria. We don't want anything bad to happen to Nigeria, and that is very important for everyone to understand. None of us here is happy to hear any Nigerian is injured for whatever reason. It's our duty to protect Nigerians. The only people we're after are those ones that don't mean us well, the enemies of the state. And anyone who makes himself an enemy of the state then will be ready to face the law. We're going to remain focused, committed. We're going to respect human rights, the rights of everyone who is lawfully performing his task or his duty, but we will not relent in pursuing those that have continued to encourage unconstitutional takeover of government or subversion, or those ones are into vandalism or destruction of lives and property. We just want to make that very clear. We remain very professional. We have talked to our men outside in the field that they must respect the rights of everyone. We encourage the youths to dialogue, to understand that destruction, mob action does nobody any good. We know there are challenges in the country, and these challenges are not only here. Every country is facing one challenge or the other. So we are not isolated because of the new world order. So it is important that we speak with the same voice in support of our dear country, Nigeria. Whatever that is happening, the solution is a whole of society solution. And that's why we preach people-centrism in everything that we do. Now it's time for question and answer. Please, I will advise that we go straight to the point, no double-barrel questions. If they ask a question and it's been treated, please, let's move on so that we can finish and go back to our normal duties.
Of the court order restricting the protesters to the National Stadium, as your men and that of the police have effectively taken over the stadium, which is the approved venue for the protest. Why is this so, sir? Thank you.
Okay, maybe you.
The alleged use of excessive force by both the military and law enforcement officers of the police. There have been some allegations by some protesters on the social media. How do you intend to address that to ensure that it doesn't happen? Thank you.
It is on record that the federal government has distributed some palliatives, rice and others. Unfortunately, the main problem is how these things get to the grassroots, and that is where the problem comes. Many people have also pointed accusing fingers at the governors, and I want to ask, of all these security situations, are the governors actually dialogue with or put in the know of some of these implications at this stage, distribution of this palliative to the grassroots? Thank you very much.
Who are you targeting?
CDS.
Attention may have been shifted from other operations. And if that is not the situation, do you have enough manpower to address Nigeria's security needs? Situation is at the moment. I would like you to tell us more about this. And to the DSS, yesterday we were at the meeting, the interagency committee briefing, and you couldn't confirm if one of the organizers, was in your custody. It's 24 hours, sir. I believe that you have no briefing and no details about it. Can you confirm that, sir? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I intend to address the allegation of use of excessive force by the police and the military. I want to respond to that by saying that the police and the military, indeed no other security agency involved in the management of this protest has deployed excessive use of force. Instead, what we had was attack on security agents during the protest. From our record, there was no shooting incident by the police. The police or the military did not use any live ammunition in the management of this protest. Instead, we have had cases where our officers were injured critically and are still in critical condition in the hospital as we speak. So I would dismiss that as fake news. It is not true. It's a very wrong allegation. We didn't use excessive force at all. We didn't even deploy the whole of our strength in this protest, even when it turned violent. We have water cannons we didn't deploy. We have rubber bullets we didn't use. All that we have used in this protest, in the management of the protest, is tear gas smoke and nothing more. Then the second question on whether attention of security agents will have shifted from other focuses to the protest. I would say no. We were not overstretched. We had standby units that we didn't deploy in managing this protest. Even while the protest was going on, a number of criminals were arrested. Hoodlums who came out to commit armed robbery were arrested. The only thing we didn't have was kidnapping. But any other offense that was committed, we paid due attention to those criminal activities. Then the third question was on the report on the social media that one of our armored personnel carrier, APC, was hijacked by protesters in Kaduna. That also is not true. I saw the video going around, but the situation in Kaduna was that we didn't even deploy APC for the protest. The APC you saw in that video was deployed to the gate of the government house in Kaduna. Protesters went to the gate, and as the APC was driving out, those protesters climbed the APC. So many of them, they climbed the APC. And what the driver of the APC did was to make a U-turn and go back to the front of the government house gate. So it wasn't a case of hijack of APC. Yeah, I think that's all. We didn't take over the stadium. We provided security at the stadium. That was not a takeover of the stadium. We assured those who engaged us, who approached us, and told us about their intention to stage peaceful protest. We asked them to go to a particular location, and that if they go there, we will provide security. We assured them. We have said at several occasions that we recognize the rights of citizens to peaceful protest, and that for as long as the protesters remain peaceful, the police will be there with them. So we deploy adequately to the stadium to provide adequate protection for the protesters. So we didn't take over the stadium. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On the issue of violation.
Times in the past, Nigeria Customs Service has been involved in the management of palliatives when we were directed to do so. Earlier in this year, when we had the issue of the food inflation and hunger, we were directed to conduct direct allocation of palliatives to Nigerians. And we went to the drawing board. We knew that it was going to involve a lot of logistics. Given the number of people that we anticipated that was going to turn out for that kind of event, you will all remember that we recorded, despite the best of our efforts, we recorded some fatalities in a place like Lagos, and this necessitated us to change our strategies that we used and deployed using organized structures as our distribution channels in some other places. For this particular exercise, the National Grain Reserves that I talked about, a committee was set up to actually handle the distribution, and the channels they used were state governors. These were allocated and it went straight to the governors, and the feedback I got was that most of them used the structures of their state's emergency agencies to distribute these palliatives. There is also another ongoing one through the intervention which was directed by Mr. President to administer 50,000 metric tons of rice, which was brought into the country and is already being distributed using the same structure of these various state governors. Now, during one of the security meetings held with Mr. President, some of these issues were raised, and one of the decisions taken was that the President was going to further engage the state governors so that they will play their roles effectively in handling this crisis. The ball would be in the courts of the various state governors so that they could also prove that they are stakeholders in maintaining national peace and security and addressing the present crisis that we have at hand. If at any point in time